The period of World War II was a time of domination of Nazi criminals, and among them were not only military men, but also women who served in the SS. A prime example of female brutality is Elsa Koch, who earned the nickname Frau Lampshade. The spelling of the name Frau Koch has different variants. In some sources, she is mentioned under the name of Elsa, in others Ilse. But no matter how her name is spelled, that this lady committed in her lifetime have forever made her name a symbol of evil and hatred and ruthlessness. Some SS soldiers who worked in the concentration camp were amazed at Koch's cruelty, and they couldn't always duplicate what she did. Elsa Koch's childhood and adolescence gave no hint that she would become the world's most brutal woman, but the subsequent activities of Elsa Koch proved that she is by nature a real beast in female form. She liked to bully people, to bring them suffering. She liked that she had unlimited power over the unfortunate prisoners. Elsa Koch was born in 1906 in the city of Dresden. Her father was a laborer. In childhood, the girl pleased her parents. Well studied at school, was quiet and obedient, and also pretty. Her parents and the whole environment were sure that in adulthood, she will marry and find her joy in family life and raising children. After graduating from school, Elsa studied to become a librarian. In those days, this education was very prestigious. She got a job in her specialty. The library staff spoke warmly of her. The beautiful librarian also earned the love of readers. In general, her life until the age of 30 was quiet, calm. Everyone considered her a modest woman. Then no one could not even guess what atrocities this woman would do. Elsa's quiet life ended when she joined the NSDAP. It happened in 1932. 2 years after joining the party, Elsa met Standartenführer Karl Koch and married him. In the aftermath, it turned out that the two villains found each other. At first, Karl Koch worked at the Sachsenhausen concentration camp, and later, for his excellent work, he was transferred to Buchenwald, and there he and his wife were fully developed. Koch himself was also particularly cruel, but no less cruel was his wife, who was even nicknamed Buchenwald Witch. There are still a lot of rumors about Elsa Koch's cruelty. In the subsequent trial, it was not possible to prove everything that she was accused of. The evidence base was insufficient, but even what was available was enough for a life sentence. Nevertheless, Elsa Koch herself did not recognize all the atrocities that were imputed to her, and convinced the judges that she was only a victim of the regime. She did what her superiors told her to do, and certainly did not do what was attributed to her. In fact, she believed she was no more guilty than the rest of the concentration camp staff. But the surviving witnesses spoke out vehemently against this woman. During her testimony, there was such rage in their eyes that there was no doubt that this concentration camp worker was guilty. Now, it cannot be said with certainty that all of what Elsa Koch is accused of is true. However, it is possible that much was true. Today, the stories that go around about this woman are astounding and show all of her nature. It was said that Elsa Koch liked to ride out to the front of her house on a white horse. And while she rode gracefully on the beautiful horse, the prisoners would brush the grounds outside her house with toothbrushes. Or she'd take her vicious sheepdog for a walk. She'd sick her on children and pregnant women. By the way, the same sheepdog was her first assistant in camp affairs. If Elsa Koch herself was unable or unwilling to beat a victim with a whip, she would set the dog on him. In general, the Koch family liked to beat their victims to death with a whip. It had a special construction. It had shards of glass embedded in it. The offender had no chance to escape. The body was gradually cut into tiny shards. The man was literally bleeding to death. And if someone was lucky enough to survive, then on his body for the rest of his life remained the memory of the atrocities that were committed in the concentration camps, including the Koch family. But most of all, Mrs. Koch is known for skinning dead people and making various things out of it. She used the skin of dead prisoners to make handbags, gloves, underwear. But most of all, Frau Koch loved lampshades. She proudly showed them to her guests. Koch's co-workers would guess what these furnishings were made of, and they were horrified. That's why she got her nickname Frau Lampshade. Above all, Koch's victims were those who had tattoos on their bodies. This cruel woman had a particular weakness for tattoos, and ordered to very carefully cut out those parts of the skin on which there were some drawings. Then this skin was processed in a special way, and from it various accessories and souvenirs were made. Prisoners with tattoos tended to go into the crematorium ovens. Under the influence of high temperatures, the tattoos would not leave a trace. In this way, the prisoners protected their bodies from Elsa Koch's sacrilege. Another story tells that one day Elsa Koch noticed a handsome, stately, and tall young man in the crowd of prisoners. He looked like a real hero, Broad-shouldered, under 2 meters tall, he immediately took a liking to the Buchenwald witch. By nationality, the young man was Czech. Elsa ordered the guards to fatten him up. A week later, he was given a smart tailcoat and brought to Elsa Koch's house. She came out to the guy in a pink negligee and explicitly hinted at what she wanted from him. But the guy sharply rebuffed the brutal probation worker, for which he received a slap in the face. Afterwards, Elsa called the guards and ordered the boy to be shot. The dead boy's heart was pulled out of his body with a bullet lodged in it. Elsa ordered the heart to be enucleated. Then she put a capsule with it on her night table. And under a leather lampshade next to the heart of a hero, she composed romantic poems. In general, about Elsa Koch said that she has a special weakness for men, and that not even all her children are born of her husband. However, to her own children she also had no special love. They were raised by her husband's sister, while Elsa and her husband reveled in their power. But every atrocity sooner or later comes to an end. Elsa Koch and her husband were accused of illegally enriching themselves and causing economic damage to the Third Reich. Colleagues of the Kochs revealed that they took away gold jewelry from prisoners and also pulled out gold teeth. The couple was brought before a Nazi court. The first time they were released, because they thought that it was all hexes against the couple. But in 1943, the couple were arrested again. Karl Koch was sentenced to be shot. He begged to be sent to some hot spot where he could atone for his guilt. But the court was adamant. His widow was in prison at the time. But the couple were not accused of abusing prisoners, but of enriching themselves illegally. And that was a very serious crime in Nazi Germany. The Third Reich didn't need corrupt officials. Only people who served the Führer faithfully were honored. While Elsa Koch was imprisoned, the part of Germany where the prison where Frau Abajur was held was liberated by American troops. Prisoners began to be released. Elsa Koch was also amnestied. However, people remembered what she had done in Buchenwald. And on June 30th, 1945, the former commandant of the camp was rearrested. At the trial, she tried to deny everything. But a large number of witnesses played their part. As a result, in 1949, Elsa Koch was sentenced to life imprisonment. The mitigating circumstance was not even the fact that she had 4 children in her care at that time. The youngest son was born in prison. It was unknown who his father was. Elsa Koch tried to prove to the last that she was not guilty of anything. In prison, she was unruly. She disobeyed her superiors, got into conflicts with inmates. She also gradually began to go insane. The ghosts of the people she tortured in Buchenwald began to come to her in her dreams. They threatened her with terrible punishment. In the end, Elsa Koch could not bear all the trials. She committed suicide on September 1st, 1967, writing a suicide note to her son, the Buchenwald witch hanged herself on the sheets in her cell. 8 years after her death, the movie Elsa the She-Wolf of the SS was made. And after that, Elsa Koch was finally recognized as the cruelest woman of Nazi Germany. Today, there are many myths and legends surrounding Elsa Koch. Many consider her a true sadist and are sure that everything that is said about her is true. Others say she was simply a victim of the regime and was forced to fulfill all the cruel orders that she was given by her superiors. Nowadays, the name Elsa Koch has become a symbol of inhuman cruelty. The story of her life says that people who have received power can commit the most terrible acts. Unlimited power corrupts a man. He forgets that sooner or later comes punishment, but other people should not forget about it. That is why the story of Elsa Koch is still popular.